Alright, we'll do one more, and that's going to be shape welding. Sometimes this is called silhouetting. There's a bunch of different names for it, but I think shape welding kind of gives you the best idea of what's really going on here. So we're going to start off the same way. We're going to draw our little bird. So this time what we want to think about is a way that we can merge part of our subject into a background element to create a more interesting or maybe a dramatic kind of feel to it. The best example I can really give you that is, like, it always makes me think of like the old detective movies or something like that, where they've got somebody kind of a dark figure standing in a doorway, and the inside of the doorway where they're standing is well lit, but the door frame and the figure kind of all merge together, and it creates a sense of that person's very much there, and there's a little bit of visual weight to it. That's what we're trying to achieve when we talk about shape welding. It's the same kind of idea. You're anchoring the subject into the environment somehow very strongly, and it can feel like they're hidden, or it can feel like they're moving past or through something. So that becomes a very valuable way of composing an image. And it works really well with color. We're just working with very dramatic light and darks here today, but for this part. Alright, so let's shade this guy. And we want our box around this one too. So this time, let's say that he's walking kind of out of a dark thickety area. So maybe we've got some grasses down here at the bottom, and those kind of frame this edge. And we start having these overhanging limbs or something back here that really kind of force him to be part of his environment. So what this does is, from a distance, it starts to become kind of abstract. There's these great big shapes that are joined together, and they create a more interesting silhouette than they would just by themselves. And it gives your image more impact. Okay. And we've developed these ideas all from my crappy zoo photo from like 10 years ago. It's the photo's kind of blurry, but the stork's there. I can go find better reference for the stork if I really need it. But I've got some interesting ideas starting to happen just from using these few compositional ideas and playing them off of each other. So if we go back to our very first bird here. Again, this is okay, there's nothing wrong with this, but it doesn't have much visual impact. You know, it works okay standalone because of the use of line and shape and the variation is there. But if we look at which one would you rather look at, I'd much rather look at this one. Even though it's just a pile of scribbles at this point, it has much more visual impact and makes a much more interesting image. And we can still use those, you know, we can lose lost and found edges. I could come in, I could lose this little bit here on the back of his head and it still works. I could lose a little bit of this here. And it just feels like light is kind of slipping in to those areas a little bit. There's a little bit of highlight or something that's happening there. Okay. Not something that really ever gets talked about in most classes. You know, most of the time they just give you the rule of thirds and tell you not to stick anything, you know, in the center, and you know, if you want something interesting, have it land on, you know, a third, and that works okay. And that kind of happens a little bit with all of these. You know, his face kind of, you know, ends up intersecting 1/3, but there's a lot of other stuff you can do to make the image more interesting. And that's kind of where we're going with this class. Is we're going to learn more about drawing, but we're going to learn more about composition too.